As you can tell, this is by Level Cap Gaming, and this is when Star Citizen devs are honest. Let's see what Level Cap has to say, and I'm sure a few of us here in chat might have differing opinions. I saw a glimpse of this a few days ago. I didn't watch the whole thing, so we'll really see what he has to say.
Citizen just used one of their latest Inside Star Citizen promotional episodes to showcase the team failing. Normally, Star Citizen's weekly YouTube content is used to showcase the game's triumphs and hype up upcoming tech, so it's interesting to see them showcase a failure. But fans have been loving it and praising them for the transparency. This game project describes itself.
Now, I'm not trying to be a douche here, but why didn't they get on the camera and claim failure with PES and claim failure with 3.19 when that first launched? You know, I get it. A ship failed. Hey, how you doing this morning? I get it. A ship failed, and that's kind of an easy one to be like, oh, oops, we failed. And once again, let's be honest. Their failure is they didn't get it out in time for Alien Week. That was the real failure. It wasn't that it failed Gray Box or Final Look or whatever they called it. It was they failed to get it out for Alien Week. That was the thing. But like I said, I would appreciate more. Look, it's great that they came out and said, hey, we failed, but I would appreciate it a lot more if you would come out and, like I said, at the beginning of 3.18.1 or 3.18 and say, hey, we failed, but they didn't. And the same thing with 3.19. They should have came out and said, hey, we dropped the ball on this, and not hide it behind Xeno threat like they did. Good morning, JT.
As an open development process where fans should more or less be aware of what's going on behind the scenes, but this often isn't the case, and for the most part fans are in the dark when it comes to some of the progress and failures happening behind the scenes. At the end of the day, CIG needs to keep pulling in fan funding, so to risk showing the game in a negative light could impact that. And by its own nature, there is...
I don't think so. I think, as I said, let's go back to 3.18 and 3.19 and now the Santokii or whatever, however you call it. It is, look, it's nice to say that, hey, we failed, and you do gain trust when you do that. But if you're gonna do it when you fail, you have to do it when you fail on a larger scale. I'm not saying to come out and act negative and dejected, like, oh, we failed 3.18. Come out and say, hey, we did this wrong. We did this wrong. We're going to do this better next time.
Is incentive to basically not be too transparent when it could impact the perception of the game, but perhaps they're easing up on this. The last episode of Inside Star Citizen showcased a review gate failure of the new Santokii alien fighter craft, a very cool looking ship that will better round out the alien combat ship lineup, but its unconventional design of rotating thrusters and a ball-style cockpit has led to a lot of first-time challenges for the devs. It was interesting to hear them describe their internal failure rates, but also how their internal review system did its job in preventing them from moving forward with a project that just wasn't in a good enough state. They also mentioned that the review failure happens fairly...
Me being a dick and hot take. Good enough state. What is a good enough state for Star Citizen? Because, man, it's been up and down this year, like really bad. It's been one of the, you know, I've talked to people that have been backed for a long time, and this is one of the worst years they've had since, I guess it was the drought between 3.0 and 3.3 or whatever it was. This is one of the worst years from what they tell me. So, you know, it is what it is. I'd still, I hate to keep going back to this. If you're going to come out and say, hey, look, we failed with this thing, you need to come out and say, hey, look, we failed with these other things as well. And future projects within Star Citizen, you need to come out and say, hey, we failed this. So it's nice that they said this, but they need to continue doing it. Indrid, what's up?
really frequently, so
Got a
it's
full
not like
house
this
this
was a
morning.
rare or unexpected issue, but nonetheless, it was nice to see some transparency with the process. I think a large portion of Star Citizen fans are older, working professionals who can handle seeing the inner workings of a development process even when it's not a successful outcome. That said, this is a pretty light failure compared to some of the more catastrophic things that could happen. Like if their next major tech push towards server meshing hits a huge roadblock, would we also be hearing about this failure?
They will not tell us about that.
Or would that information be kept behind closed doors? I think we can say that Star Citizen is a very open development process compared to most games, but without question that openness is cherry-picked, in part due to the fact that any major sign of weakness or failure would probably introduce a frenzy of anti-Star Citizen media, which could negatively impact the funding. I certainly don't envy the team having to dance the line of how open can we be with this process versus what's actually going to hurt the development process. Now, speaking
Indrid, from what I understand, it's supposed to be considered a medium fighter, and you know, with a lot of look, I'm not making fun of Star Citizen when I say this, but in this game, with the way ships move, with having sixed off and multi-directional thrusters all over ships, a lot of this comes down to getting angle and getting your nose on target faster. And once you get to a certain size of ship or a certain speed or maneuverability of ship, it turns into a lot of face tanking. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. To answer your question, the manganese, I don't think they really offered a solution other than, hey, we missed this date. This happened by, you know, this thing happened and we couldn't get it out in time for Alien Week, and we're going to continue to work on it. I don't think they do. Now, me, I am a working class man. Obviously, I don't stream all the time. I'm not a full-time streamer. I work, and I work hard, and I take pride in my work. And I'm one of those people that when I mess something up, I go and I admit, hey, I broke this, or hey, I didn't do this right. But I usually ask right after that, hey, what can we do to fix it? What can we do to make it better? What can I do next time so I don't mess up? And I go from there. But that's me. I'm not saying Mang-Ease. Got you. Mang-Ease. My apologies. Yes. Thanks, JT. Hey. Is that Phoebe? Phoebe? Thank you for checking me out on Kick. I appreciate it. But, you know, that's me. I'm not a giant corporation like CIG, and CIG is, you know, beholden to, you know, shareholders. And as I've said, and, you know, people point out that I'm a jerk for saying this, but marketing, I think, is going to decide whether or not they come out and say, hey, we failed at this or we didn't fail at that, which is why I think it gets cherry picked with the Santoki Eye, because what really happened other than it missed Alien Week deadline. That's it.
Speaking of progress, there's been some more rumblings about a Squadron 42 release date announcement. Squadron 42 is the allegedly massive single-player game project that's being developed in parallel to Star Citizen's persistent universe and is currently receiving the majority of development focus. Now, these rumblings about a potential release date are spurred on by two semi-recent events. The first one being that one of the lead developers estimated a 2-year release window at a casual Bar Citizen meetup event. This event was about 8 months ago, which means that if this prediction was accurate, well, that marketing and hype should be starting to ramp up, well, pretty soon. The other event is that Squadron 42's game package has been removed from purchase on the RSI website, and it's been explained that it's going to see a price update when it comes back.
Yeah, I heard they're going to raise it to like $70.
However, it's still not back on sale after a significant period of time, which sounds like maybe there's some more preparation going on, Because, I mean, why
I
remove
hope
something
not,
to
Pagan.
update the
I
price?
hope not.
You just update the price and call it good, right? It definitely seems like other factors are in play here. Now, the yearly fan event, CitizenCon, is slated to take place towards the end.
Now, John Rice Davies, the guy that played, I'm not sure his character in Squadron 42, but he was Sala in Indiana Jones. He was Gimli in Lord of the Rings. Those are probably his most notable movies that he did in his career. He went back, I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago, and did a bunch of reshoots. So, you know, there's a few things that can be pulled off of that. Either A, they're getting closer and closer to wrap up, or B, they messed something up and they got to fix it now. I don't have it up on screen. As I said, I would love to get more screens and pull it over, but there's going to be like a 1.5 2-minute delay of me trying to find it and get it on screen for you guys. But there is an app, and I'll try to find it and link it later in the chats. It's called Shiny Tracker, I think it is. A guy made it, and it tracks everything, all Star Citizen. And there's 28 chapters in Squadron 42, and a majority of them, according to this tracker. Now, I'm not saying that this tracker is gospel. It's the Bible. It's the 10 Commandments. It's nailed down. This is 100% factual and truth. But I'd say over 50, maybe even 60% of the missions are only half done. So if we go off of that, and just that, like I said, I'm not saying that is the hardcore truth, but if we go off of just that, then they got a long ways to go. Now, I would like to see them put out a release date, but with that being said, even if they do put out a release date, there's no guarantee that it won't get delayed another 2 years. Once again, I'm not trying to be jerk. I'm just trying to let you guys know, how many times does a video game say, hey, coming out July of, this year, and then July turns into October, turns into December, turns into March the following year, and then they finally get it out. Just saying. Let me read chat here real quick. Something smells fishy. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. True, could be significant changes to the chapters or data loss. That is also true. If you go and you watch the Diablo 2 making of, and how the game almost never didn't even make it out because they suffered catastrophic data loss, and it just so happened that a handful of guys had different sections of the game saved to their computers. Squirrel, good morning, man. Good morning. I agree, Mangies. I agree. Yeah, and Phobia. I every time. Most game titles don't release it when they say they are going to. They're usually off between 3 to 6 months.
Of October this year, which might make for a great place to showcase or announce the release date for this game. So if there's a big announcement in the works, that seems like the most opportune time to make it. Now, beyond these more ethereal subjects, the much more tangible Hull C was also showcased in the latest ISC. This ship is releasing with the upcoming 3.2 patch and will be by...
And I think so I'm scared of the Hull C. I've made my points known. Like, is the in-game economy going to be able to keep up with multiple ships that can scoop up 4,600 SCU of various things at space stations and whatnot? And we'll see when that happens. Otherwise, these things are just going to be filled with trash. It's going to be scrap metal or waste or whatever. But the one thing I am excited for with the Hull C is these right here. These 32 SCU boxes, that's going to be a lot of fun to play with.
Far the most capable hauling vessel in the game, at least.
I also want to know, because me and a group, we decided to help some people that hit I think it was Stranger. They hit a C2 and they were transferring cargo, it would have been so much easier if that cargo was in 32 SCU boxes instead of 590 whatever 1 SCU boxes. So, you know, it would have been easier. I'm just saying.
When it comes to hauling quantity. In fact, while its cargo racks are extended, it looks extremely long, possibly able to rival some of the longest flyable ships.
I think it looks
like
the best when it's folded
jump.
in.
But we'll have to wait and see what the actual final dimensions are. The ship itself looks fantastic. It's much larger and more detailed than I ever thought the whole series would be, and it features some awesome transformation visuals and even a very brief showcase of the cargo loading process. That portion of the demo did look a little bit placeholder, where the ship flies into a loading zone in space, and then cargo seems to magically appear on the outside of the ship. That said, if they need to make...
The other thing I want to point out is I think that people are going to be very upset unless they have some sort of thing in the background that we don't know about yet. You know, if you're getting this loaded up at a space station, what's not to say that somebody isn't sitting just outside of Armistice or even inside of Armistice with a Retaliator or an Eclipse, and they just, you know, 1 size 9, boom, you know, that's it. I don't know if there's going to be a way to stop that or what.
Some of the loading stuff placeholder for the moment just to get the ship into the game, that's absolutely fine by me.
That's very
what wasn't
true,
mentioned
Squirrel.
during the video was
True.
anything about the new hauling missions, which seem imperative to make this ship fill its role. Players were quick to point out that the current trading supplies won't even be able to fill up the volume of this ship, making it somewhat pointless to use over a smaller vessel. It's also unclear if you'll be able to unload at a ground base installation, as the whole series has always been designed more about space freight, without planetary landings being a major consideration. However, with just about all the major trading spots in the game needing at least one end of that supply and demand route to be on a planet, it's hard to know if this ship will integrate with the current trading system. Hopefully there's an upcoming ISC that will announce new hauling missions for this ship and other hauler ships in the game. Speaking personally, I've been waiting forever for some sort of hauling gameplay loop. We do know that the devs are working on this specifically, and it's been alleged that it would be tied.
Sometimes, look, I know Level has been a backer for a while, and he's only really started playing within the last year and a half-ish. I think it's been maybe 2 years, but he always seems to focus on the combat side so much, and maybe I'm speaking out of line, but sometimes when he makes comments like that, it's like, but how often do you really play? Because he says that he wants to get into a viable hauling game loop, but there is a viable hauling game loop currently. You don't need a hull C for it. You need a larger ship than a Pisces, or, you know, you can do it with a Cuddy Black, but you're not going to start to see the profit margins that most people want to see until, I believe, Sandy Claus, which if you haven't checked him out, Sandy Claus on YouTube, he does a lot of really good trading videos. It really gets into the numbers. That's a good point, Phoebe. But anyway, back to Sandy Claus. He was saying that you don't start to see the real good profit margins until you have a Connie Taurus or larger. But, you know, it is. I'm not a hauler. I think it's boring, but I do like picking on haulers every once in a while.
Into the whole series of ships, so maybe we'll see an announcement soon.
Thanks for
I made a
reeling
video
me in,
a while
Phoebe.
back showing the space truck and lifestyle in Star Citizen, and while it is fun to haul things around the verse and sell them for more at different outposts, the biggest weak spot for it was just the general lack of a mission system specifically catered for that gameplay. So fingers crossed that we actually hear something soon. Now overall, patch 3.2 is beginning to fill up with some more significant content. A truly massive arena commander overhaul is in the works, new consignment missions are coming, new outpost locations, the just mentioned Hull C ship will be releasing, possibly new tractor beam stuff, and
We
more.
need the new
The
tractor
recent
beams.
3.19.1 patch just
out,
went live and has some significant improvements to the ASOP terminal response time, which is honestly a huge quality of life improvement since you need this terminal to spawn or store any ships in the game. Now, if they can just give me some better options to sort my ships on the terminal and find what I need quicker, we'll be golden. What do you guys think about the upcoming Star Citizen content and the overall transparency of the project? Do you think the devs should be even more open about their development?
So I'm going to stop him right there. I'd like to pose a couple of questions to those of you in the chats. Number one, do you think Star Citizen devs are transparent enough, or do you want to see more transparency? For me, it's not about the transparency as much as I'd like to see them admit more when they have failed. I think them coming out and saying we've failed more than they do would build more confidence in the player base and from the outsiders looking in that are always just saying that all they're doing is taking your money and they're giving you crap. The other thing I'd like to pose to you, questions that I'd like to pose to you, is how are you finding 3.91's stability? Now, I've had, since 3.19 has dropped, and more specifically in the last 2 weeks, I've had some very, very long game sessions where I'm talking 6 to 8 hours, and most of it being captured on stream. I'm not getting the major issues with crash to desktop and 30Ks as I was getting in 3.19. So, and 3.81, 3.18.1 and 3.18.0, which really I couldn't even play those, but yeah. I'd like to hear you guys' input on that. I think the ship is useless because all there is in Pyro is pirate base. It's lawless. There's no dedicated protection groups to hire to protect these meaty clones. That's true, Mangies, but at the same time, if you're a pirate and the only things that you can buy in bulk is either waste or scrap, no pirate's going to want to hit this. Squirrel, number one, I just want to see them have progress and give us progress report. It's nice to know that what they intend to do. I just want to see them do it. Very nice. I understand why the tasks are kept secret, but I agree that we need more honesty with failed tasks. All right. Thangies. I'm not either. It's generally good. Okay. I've only had a couple 30Ks in 3.19.1. Your second question, it's much better, but not as good as it has been in the past. I agree wholeheartedly, Squirrel. I agree. Pagan, less crash at desktops for me, but micro stutters are horrible. Yes, the micro stutters, the desync is, and the crazy lag spikes have been very bad. The nice thing is we're not getting into those lag spikes, and that is causing a crash. So, you know, yeah, 2 or 3 30K, 1 crash at desktop. Yeah, that's about how it's been for me lately, guys. I've really, you know, Pagan did point out the micro stutters and the lag, the big like game stopping lag spikes. But for the most, outside of those two things, and I'll take this with Star Citizen as it is right now. It's been a lot more playable, and you're not having the game session ending 30Ks and crash desktop. So I will take that when I can. I definitely will take that when I can. Phobia. I don't have any particular issue with transparency. I don't have a major issue with crashes or anything, but those stutters are fierce. Yeah, it's been a wild one. It's been a wild one. So with that, that's Level Cap Gaming, and when Star Citizen devs are honest, it was good. There's a couple of things I liked and a few things I didn't like, but it was good. It was overall, it was a good video. Yeah. Good conversation. Good conversation.